Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, Childhood Finds. We're doing the weekly What Sold video, and today we're doing a profit. We're going to be talking about exactly how much I made this week selling across, I believe, 4 platforms, and it was right around 55 items or so, and it's going to be how much I made after fees, taxes, cost of goods, shipping supplies. It's going to encompass all of that. So you can see exactly what I am essentially taking home as a full-time reseller this week. It is not my best week, but it's a decent week. It's definitely, if I just continued weeks like this, I'm happy, but I am continuing to grow because I want to level up my business, but I am still happy with this week and think it's a good showing for kind of a slow summer for me. It's definitely been a little bit quieter around here. So I think it's just a good showing for that. So I do have quite a few items to share with you. I have some decent profit items. I am happy with the fact that a lot of my items are $10 profit and above. That I'm very excited about. So how I'm going to do it is I'm going to show you each item, and then I'm going to tell you how much it sold for, and then I'm going to tell you what my profit is. And the profit's going to be after my cost of goods and after fees. So I may not always be telling you exactly how much I paid for an item. Some items I'm paying up for, so the profit seems low. And if there's any if the number seems odd, I will explain it. And then at the end, I will go over the total, and then we'll take out shipping costs, or we'll take out shipping supplies because shipping costs are already taken out. And we'll also take out some money for taxes. And then I'm going to talk about how much my net profit is compared to the gross, because I do think that's an interesting number to look at, because a lot of people overestimate exactly how much money they are making reselling. Of course, we can make great money, but there is a lot of things you have to consider when you look at your net profit. So I do think it's important to look at this. So guys, we're going to get right into it because I have so many sales to share with you. I don't usually share this many, and lots of things to talk about. It's going to be a longer video. First item we got is this Babyliss Pro Nano Titanium Thermal Brush Iron Metal Curling Iron. This is definitely a brand to look for if you can get it cheap. I've sold some other ones for good money, and this one sold for $29.95, and my profit after everything was $23.13. And when I say everything, that just means my fees for the platform and my cost of goods for right now. This is a Wallace Continental Bateman salad forks. This is a lot of 6 of them, and it sold for a best offer of $25, which put my profit at $19.49. This is something that I realized I had 3 of these sitting in my death pile. They are not super valuable unless you get them dirt cheap. I don't suggest picking them up, because they are heavy, so they do go into the higher weight class, but you can typically get them in a nice 864 box. This is a cast iron black wall mount matchstick holder, and it sold for a best offer of $10. But this one sold pretty decently quick, so I'll get the others listed, but my profit was only $6.06 on it. This is a 2000 to 2006 Honda Rancher Service Repair Maintenance Manual. So I picked up a huge maintenance manual buy, or just manual buy in general, car-related, etc. This one wasn't in it. This was from an estate sale, but you'll start seeing some of those sales coming up that it was a really good score. It's just been a lot to go through, but it was an exciting score off Marketplace. But this sold for $20, and my profit was $17. This is Dying Hard on Hard Light Station, limited edition. It's an RPG book, very small book, and it did sell for a offer. I sent out an offer for $18.77, and my profit was $10. The items that you see that my profit, it seems low, typically are from my source. I pay up for items from my source, but as a viewer has pointed out, those are, even though I feel bad that I'm spending more, they pointed out that's, money that I wouldn't have made otherwise, items I wouldn't have sold otherwise. So it's all profit as long as it's still worth it. That was just the tiny little RPG paperback. That was worth making $10 on. This is a Louis Vuitton canvas fabric garment bag. I have a few more of these left and a couple to get listed, and then I will be out of these. I bought, I don't know, it was like 25 of them for It was like 10 cents each at a yard sale. And this one sold for a best offer of $30. And I was fine taking a lower offer because, well, I have 10 cents into it. And my profit was $23.67. This is a magnifying ruler, antler, question mark, handle with sterling silver accents, vintage office. This, someone pointed out to me too, is also used for reading, and I just never got any of that into the title or description. I forgot about it, but it still sold for a best offer of $34. I couldn't find anything quite similar to this. My profit was $16.70 on it. This is Riviera Monterey stainless steel Japan teaspoons. This lot and this lot sold to the same buyer. The total paid for both was $33.90, and the profit for both of them was $24.98. This is from my big yarn buy, and this is a Brescia, maybe, yarn, and it was a lot of 11 skeins. It was an acrylic wool blend. It sold for an offer of $17.96, which puts my profit at $11.45. I just averaged out at $2 a listing for my yarn. I think it's probably a little bit lower than that, but I just averaged out at about $2 just so I could keep it even and easy to track. This is Oneida Community Stainless Paul Revere Soup Spoon, a lot of 3, and this did sell for $11.95, and my profit was $9.06. These are some of my oldest listings, and they sold. That's why with flatware, I'm happy for it to take time because this wasn't taking up hardly any space. This is my Department 56. It's just the dwindlingest little pile now, which is sad because we're going into the holiday season. So I do wish I could find another lot of those. That would be great for holiday. But this is a lighted scarecrows, and it sold for a best offer of $14. Remember, I paid up I didn't necessarily paid up. I just had an average buy at each item for $6, which for some items that was a huge profit, and for some items like this, it wasn't as big a profit. And so that gave me $5.39. This is Dickies Cargo Work Shorts Men's 34 Charcoal Gray Phone Pocket. They did have the tag, and they sold for a best offer of $15 and put my profit at $11.14. This one took a long time to sell. I've sold this game a couple times before, but this one sat the longest. And it's New Sealed Nevada Trivia the Game by Martin Smith, Flag Store of Nevada. From 2006, it was sealed. And, I already said that. But it sold for $28.95 full price eventually. It just took the right buyer. And that was $20.31. Even living in Nevada and being born here, I probably would be completely and utterly horrible at this game. That's why it takes the right buyer. There's not a lot of people that want to play Nevada Trivia the Game. This is Soul Blade PlayStation 1, PS1 Black Label box manual game. You always want to include if it has the manual, the box, and the game, because that affects the value if it's missing, say, the manual or etc. It just, buyers are looking for typically complete games is what they're considered. This I actually found at a yard sale. It was a community sale that was horribly advertised, and I just got lucky because otherwise video games would never be seen at yard sales unless they're very high priced here or just shovel fodder. And so this sold for an offer of $22.46 and put my profit at $16.68. Then here we have Vintage Eden Wind-Up Musical Brown Puppy Dog, and this took a while to sell, probably a year, but it sold for an offer of $17.96, which put my profit at $14.65. I know I'm talking a little fast, guys. I just want to get through a lot of these and not make it a 50-minute video. This one really surprised me. I picked it up in an estate sale, and I grabbed it because it had the tag and it was gunned. Typically, bears are something that I pick them up because I'm weak if they have the tag, but it's something I don't pick up very often because bears take longer to sell. They just do. There's certain things like koalas and panda bears you would think would sell really fast, and unicorns, but they don't do well for me. I'm going to adjust the camera. It's a little tilty. So that's, you start to learn as you sell those things, but pandas, koalas, and unicorns do terrible for me. Oh, I should talk about this. This is Gund Henry Black Teddy Bear plush gray floppies, 13-inch, and then the number is that number code you find on guns typically. This sold very quickly internationally for $34.95, and my profit was $29.24. This is a Caldwell Knit Right Mills Pure Wool Horses Cardigan Sweater, Canada, size in description, because it didn't have a size tag, so I just put the measurements of it. And it did sell for an offer of $89.96. And this was one that was really popular across Poshmark and my Depop as well. I actually had people messaging me after, constantly asking if it was still available. But they didn't buy it, and I kept getting really low offers on Depop. But this was definitely a popular one. Oh, I didn't talk about it at all. Okay, sold for the $89.96, and my profit was $46.98. This is a Penguin 85% kid mohair, 15% silk. This was a lot of 4, and it sold for $26.06. And my profit was $20.96. This came from my manual buy. It was the first item to sell, and it's a Genuine Parts Chevrolet Master Catalog. This just shows that even if it's dirty, stained, ripped, and kind of terrible looking, it can still be worth money when it comes to certain manuals and car manual stuff. And this sold for a best offer of $20, and I made $15.99. This I got at a thrift store. This set, it was just a loose, I just had to piece them together. And it was a set of 3 dinner forks, Oneida Katrina glossy stainless. And it sold for a best offer of $35, and I profited $28.43. This was Oneida Community Silver Plate Affection, a lot of 8 teaspoons. I really don't pick up much silver plate unless it's basically in perfect condition. You can sell it. I'm just always afraid it's going to tarnish really bad just sitting in my storeroom. So, I don't know. It's those worries you have. And it's just like if you get a plush that has an internal battery and you press it and you think, well, that could have been the last time ever it was going to work. And I'm going to send a non-working thing to the buyer, even though I said it was working. It's those intrusive thoughts, guys. But this sold for $15, and I made $11.58. This is the Winking Santa Claus Miniature Christmas Mug Japan, and this sold for an offer of $30, and I got these in with, I think it was 12 total of these, and I just parted them out into lots of 2 at an estate sale for $5 for the whole box, and my profit was $20.49 on them. This is a Reed & Barton Durham. Reed & Barton Everyday is what it said on the back. Stainless flatware, and this sold for best offer of $10. The Reed & Barton Everyday is more of a affordable line, so maybe not quite as high as quality as some of the Reed & Barton you find, because some Reed & Barton you find is, it just feels nice. It's heavy and sturdy. This wasn't quite that quality, but it still sold, and I made $6.75. This is an Arts and Crafts Fulper signed Rafco pottery, and this was a vase from the 1920s. It's an antique, and it did sell for a best offer of $50. This is one of those unsuspecting ones to me that I wouldn't typically look at, but it did have a signature on the bottom. Let's see if we can pull that up. There it is. There's a signature on the bottom, and this profited me $22.89. This is Adult Authentic The Princess Bride Wesley Dread Pirate costume, size extra small. It sold for $25 on a best offer very quickly. I probably could have got $30 going into the Halloween season, but size extra small is hard to sell, so I was going to take the money when I got it. And then I got this at a rummage sale, and I made $16.65. This is a Pfluger Spinning Reel Tryon GX7. This was unused in the box, and it sold for a best offer of $34 very quickly. I rarely find any sort of fishing, shooting, hunting, any of that stuff at yard sales because there are people that fight for that around here. So this was a real surprise, and it did profit me $26.18. This is ACA Supreme Pure Rabbit Hair Angora Yarn France, and it sold for a best offer of $30 for just these 4 little balls, and I made $23.27. This is Department 56 Snow Village figurine, A Vampire's Best Friend, and this one sold for $22, putting my profit at $12.82. This we just got at an estate sale for dirt cheap. And it's a Comp Cams 12140 composite distributor gear Chevrolet shaft. A whole lot of stuff I don't know, but it sold for $125.06. And the great thing is, all of that information was on the box, and it was sealed, and I profited $106.40 on this. The next 2 lots sold to the same buyer, and these are Toll Breckenridge stainless steel dinner forks, and there were lots of 6, and both of them sold for full asking price, and that was a total of $39.90, and my profit was $31.51. This is an AC Delco Racing Button-Up Pit Crew Shirt NASCAR Vintage Simpson. This sold for a best offer of $35 the same day. I just figured, why not? And it was a little bit dirty. That's why I have read in the title, and my profit was $17.66. This is a Minimals Sandra Boynton 1992 Gunned Hippo plush, and it sold for $17.95. It took quite a while to sell, but it was this big. It's fine. And my profit was $14.13. We're over halfway now. And this is Echo Eterna Prince teaspoons, and it sold for $14.95, and my profit was $12.12. This is Barocco Caro Yarn Lot of 5. It was an alpaca, wool, and silk blend. And there was 5 of them, and they were made in Switzerland. And it sold for the sale price of $29.66, and my profit was $23.26. I am happy that I do have some lower dollar items you're going to see here towards the end of the video, but I am really excited getting my profit. I love to just keep my profit above $10 on every item. I'm not going to always have that because there's lots of lower dollar items that are easy I sell, but if I could start managing always getting $10 profit, that would really start to help. And as you get better at sourcing, you can slowly build up to do that. So you can just start to put limits. So you'll only list items that are above $8. And then once you start to really max out your store and max out your knowledge, you can say, well, I'm only going to list things that are over $12, $15. And then you start to get towards that area where you are working smarter, not harder. And I'm still in the harder territory because I am building my store. But eventually I want to get to where I sell a lot of higher profit items. I enjoy selling, and I'm fine selling items where I make $10, $20, $30 profit because that really starts to add up. Oh, and I didn't talk about this, and this is Penguin yarn. I don't know how to say that one. And it's a lot of 8 of them, and it sold for $24.26 on an offer, and I made $17.14. This is Rosita Novelty Yarn Italy lot of 8. I actually got this lot of yarn at a yard sale, and I took a best offer of $15 and made $10.61. This is Royal Albert Old Country Roses napkin ring holders. This sold for the sale price of $31.45, and then that same buyer also came and bought these napkin ring holders. And so the total sale price for these brass napkin ring ones and the Royal Albert was $49.40, and my profit was $38. This is a Farming Simulator 19 Premium Edition, but it was factory sealed for the PS4, and it sold for $35.95 within a couple of weeks, and my profit was $15.46. This is American Bowl 1991 49ers vs. Chicago Bears. I paid a little too much for some of these 49ers shirts, but it sold for $17, and my profit was still $9.31. This is Mind-Bending Math Riddles and Paradoxes DVD course and transcript book. Great courses. Some of the great courses, especially when they're sealed, can be valuable. I picked up 2 recently in the estate sale that were each $40 and up. So it's definitely something to look at when you see them. And this sold for, I lost my place, $22 on a best offer because I just figured just move it. It's been listed for quite a few months, and I made $11.52. I got that at the Goodwill. This is 1966 Pontiac Dealer Sales Album Colors, Interiors, Accessories Binder. This sold for a best offer of $150, and this came out of my manual buy, and after this, I'm completely into the profit. Just this one item, and I am in the profit. I paid $100 for all of my manuals, and this profited $129.26. So even if they take forever to sell, I've already made money. And these next 2 went to the same buyer. These are Toll Mark 7 round gumbo soup spoons. You know, soup spoons tend to be not super valuable, but if you can get the round gumbo ones, those are definitely more sought after. So this one and the next lot sold to that same buyer, and it was a total of $51.21 for the items, and my profit was $39.28. This is a 5-piece place setting Williamsburg Royal Shell by Kirksteiff. I picked this up quite a long time ago. I've just been waiting for the right buyers to buy these because I don't mind. I have like nothing into them and they don't take up much space. And this sold for an offer of $94.01, and I made $76.91. This is Welcome Lee Super Black Mohair Acrylic Blend Yarn, lot of 2. Sold for best offer of $8. Not a ton of money on this one, but I figured I have it, might as well sell it, and I still made $4.08. This is one where the profit seems terrible because of my Department 56 bulk buy cost. These are Halloween jack-o'-lantern string of 12 mini lights, and it sold for an offer of $8, and I actually lost 39 cents technically on it. But that's an anomaly with my Department 56 buy. This is a Payday 2, the Big Score PS4, sold for an offer of $11, and I profited $8.42. This has been listed a long time, so I took an offer of $6. It's Bane Kenner 1997 DC Comics Legends of the Dark Knight, and I profited $4.14. It came in my big action figure tote that I bought last year. Then we have a couple on 3 other platforms. This is Dodge Steer Bookends Copper Bronze Color Hereford Cow Bull Brown Western. I am upset because I don't know how. I have a 10% off offer that will automatically go to any liker on Etsy, and I have to see if I can turn that off for some of them because this would have sold for full price. I mean, 10% isn't a big deal, and it sold quickly, but it would have sold for full price on Etsy or eBay, one or the other. I had lots of people interested, so I was a little frustrated with myself on that I didn't catch it. So it sold for 10% off at $355.29, and I profited $304.89. These were a shock. I picked them up at an estate sale thinking they're kind of cool because they weren't really heavy. They didn't feel super dense and quality like a lot of bookends I've sold of the copper, brass, and bronze variety. They felt light and kind of cheap, honestly. But I picked them up because they were cool, and I knew I'd get 30 or 40 bucks for them, and I paid a few dollars for the pair. I sat them in my IKEA bag in the garage for a month or 2. Just sat them there. They lived in the death pile with everything else. And then I picked them up, looked them up, and went, holy cheese balls. Why did I have this sitting there? And so I just had $300 just sitting in the garage festering. But they did sell, and the buyer is happy with them. So both my Poshmark and my Depop are being little turkeys today and not wanting to load. So I'm just going to tell you what I sold. I sold a Orient and Flume paperweight that was very pretty and had a dragonfly on it. It sold for an offer of $140 on Poshmark, and I profited $82 on that. And then I also sold a hat. It was Scarlet Knights. I can't remember the title in my head, so just here's the picture of it. And I sold it for $20 and made $16. And then my last one is on Depop. I sold a pair of FootJoy's shoes that were basically new in box, and they sold for $34.95. And luckily with Depop, I didn't have really, the fees are so much better on there because sometimes they don't have them if it's not sold via promoted, etc. And I always promote, but I believe if sometimes it, yeah, I don't know. I think, whatever. Either way, it sold for $34.95 and my profit was $30.95 on that. And so now let's talk about the numbers on all of this. So we're looking at a total of $1,518.60 in profit on all of those items. And then I want to talk about shipping supplies. So shipping supplies, I just do a across the board deduction for ease on these videos. And so I say 75 cents per package. So if things went out together, then I don't count that as 2 packages. And so I have 55 times 75 cents, and that totaled to $41.25 in packaging materials, which is probably high, but I still just like to have that as ease of calculation. So when we minus that from the total, it puts us at $1,477.35. And then we want to talk about taxes. So taxes are definitely personal in how much you keep and put aside. For these videos, I'm saying that I'm putting aside 25%. You have to talk to a tax professional about what is best for you. So I'm going to say 25% for this video, which is $369.34. So that puts us at a profit, total net profit after absolutely everything, of $1,107.66. Of course, it doesn't factor in acquiring the items, etc., the cost of that, but for everything I've talked about in this video, my take-home pay this week was $1,100.07, or $1,107.66. Now I want to compare that to the gross item sales. So the gross sales, not including shipping on all of these items, was about $2,056. So I am sitting at right around 54% is my profit on that number. So that's why I share it, because you don't make all of the money that you sell an item for. There are so many costs you have to consider, but I am still happy with that. As long as I'm sitting at about 50% profit on what I'm selling, I'm happy with that number because I do pay up for items, but I also counteract that with super cheap buys. So I have a nice balance, I think, in my store. So guys, that's all I have to share today. Thank you for joining me for this longer video, and I'll see you on the next one.